left to die in the desert. The sun was cruel. It hung like fire above the red sands of Cordesh, burning everything it touched. The wind was dry and sharp, blowing dust into the eyes and mouths of anything foolish enough to stay outside. The desert didn't forgive, and today the desert had a new victim. She lay still in the sand. Her skin was pale silver, her clothes torn and royal, or at least they used to be. Now they were stained with dust and sweat. She couldn't move her legs. She couldn't even lift her head fully. But her eyes were open. Her name was Lyra, daughter of Baron Vekthar, ruler of the desert world. But now, she was nothing. No title, no guards, no mercy, only the heat and her own breathing. She tried to cry, but her body had no water left for tears. "I don't want to die," she whispered. Hours ago, the Baron's skyship had hovered above the desert cliffs. He had looked down at her one last time, his own daughter, and ordered his guards coldly. "She is defective, useless, throw her off, let the heat take her." And they obeyed. She had screamed all the way down. And then silence. Pain. And now, emptiness. Far across the sands, a signal flashed on a dusty old screen inside a moving scavenger truck. The vehicle was patched with rusted metal, wires hanging loose. Inside sat a human man, dark-haired, sunburnt, in dirty work clothes. His name was Jace Halborn, a desert scavenger looking for scrap. His tracker beeped. Unusual life sign detected. Humanoid, weak pulse, the screen said. Jace frowned. Out here? No one survives out here. Still, curiosity was stronger than fear. He changed course and headed into the dunes. It took him 2 hours to reach the signal. The sand made his crawler slow. The sun tried to cook him alive. But when he finally reached the spot, he saw her, a girl. Alone in the middle of the desert, barely alive. Her lips cracked, her eyes glowing faintly. Jace jumped out of the crawler and knelt beside her. "Hey, you alive?" She blinked once. Then again. Her voice was dry like sandpaper. Water. He reached into his pack, opened a small bottle, and placed it gently to her lips. She drank slowly. Her hands shook. "You're lucky I found you," Jace said softly. "What are you doing out here?" She didn't answer, just looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Can you move your legs?" She shook her head. "Paralyzed since childhood." Jace carefully checked her back. There were small metal ports near her spine. Tech implants, damaged. "You're enhanced," he said, surprised. "But someone broke your systems." She turned her face away. "He did it." "My father." Jace looked confused. "Your father?" "Baron Vekthar." Jace went still. The Baron was feared across the system. A warlord, a tyrant. And this was his daughter? "I should leave you here," Jace muttered. "If they find me with you, I'm dead." Lyra's voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Then go." Jace stood, looked at her again. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sun, but she looked so fragile, not like a royal, not like a threat. "Why would he abandon you?" Jace asked. "Because I can't walk. I can't fight. I can't be his heir." She closed her eyes. "He called me broken cargo." Jace looked out at the horizon. A sandstorm was forming, fast, big. He cursed under his breath. He looked down at Lyra again. She had fainted. "Damn it," he muttered, and lifted her into his arms. The sun burned his neck. The sand stung his skin. But he carried her back to the crawler, every step harder than the last. He placed her in the back, wrapped her in an old coat, and slammed the door shut just as the first winds of the storm hit. Inside the crawler, everything shook. Sand whipped the windows. Lightning flashed in the orange sky. But inside, it was safe. Lyra's eyes opened weakly. "You stayed?" Jace gave a tired grin. I may be a junk scavenger, but I'm not trash. She stared at him, and for the first time in years, someone saw her as more than broken. The broken and the builder. The storm raged outside like a wild beast. Inside the metal crawler, everything creaked, but it held. Sand slammed against the windows like fists. Lightning cracked across the sky, turning the desert bright for a second, then dark again. Jace sat on the floor, staring at the girl wrapped in his coat. She was still asleep, her breathing slow, her silver skin glowing faintly in the storm's light. He couldn't stop thinking about what she said before passing out. Baron Vekthar is my father. Jace rubbed his tired face. Helping her could mean death. The Baron didn't forgive. He crushed problems, or threw them into deserts. But then he looked at her again. She wasn't just a problem. She was discarded. Morning came quietly. The storm had passed. Lyra woke with a sharp breath. Her hands grabbed the crawler's side like she was falling. Jace turned. Easy. You're safe. She blinked, confused. Why, are you still here? He gave a half smile. Still asking. That? Lyra sat up slowly. Her legs didn't respond. She stared at them, shame in her eyes. They stopped working when I was 8. He hated it. Jace reached over. Let me check something. He gently moved her hair aside and found the ports on her spine again. Dusty, slightly corroded. Looks like someone turned off your power systems. You were never broken, you were shut down. She froze. That's not possible. I've seen junk tech all my life. I know the difference between broken and locked. Her voice trembled. He said I was born weak. Said I'd never rule, never fight. Jace looked her straight in the eyes. He lied. They stopped near a small canyon, where Jace had a secret workshop built into the rock. It was a hidden cave filled with scavenged parts, old machines, batteries, wires, and dusty data chips. Home, Jace said. Not much, but no one will find you here. He gently carried Lyra inside. She looked around in disbelief. You built all this? I build everything myself, Jace said. No one gives me anything either. He placed her on a padded workbench. I'm going to open your spine ports, scan the neural net. If I'm right, I can restart your systems. Her voice was quiet. What if it hurts? Jace paused. It probably will. She closed her eyes. Do it anyway. The next hour was painful. Lyra bit her lip so hard it bled. Sparks flickered from her back. Her hands trembled. Her fingers twitched. Then, wait, she whispered. I can feel my toes. Jace looked up, surprised. That's fast. She moved her right leg slightly, then the left. Then she cried. Real tears. I thought I was broken forever, she said. You weren't broken, Jace whispered back. You were hidden. That night, Lyra sat by the small fire Jace had built. She still couldn't walk, but she could feel warmth in her legs. She held a small gear in her hands and turned it slowly. My mother died when I was little, she said. He never looked at me the same after that. He said I reminded him of her, in a bad way. Jace didn't say anything. I trained hard, Lyra continued. Tried to prove myself, but then my legs failed. He stopped visiting. One day he just said, You're not mine anymore. Jace stirred the fire. That's not what a father does. She looked at him. Why are you helping me? He stared into the flames. Because someone once helped me. When I was worth nothing. She asked, Who? My mother, he said softly. She died saving me. Never let me think. I was trash, not once. There was silence for a while. Then Lyra spoke. I don't want to be royalty anymore. Jace looked at her. Then be something better. Outside the cave, a small surveillance drone blinked in the night. Far above, aboard a royal skyship, Baron Vekthar watched the footage with cold eyes. She lives, he whispered, An advisor beside him said, "Shall we retrieve her?" The Baron's voice was like ice. "No, let the desert finish what I started. Or let her crawl back. If she can." But deep inside, for the first time in years, the Baron felt something he hadn't in a long time. Fear. A target on their backs. The desert was quiet again. Too quiet. Lyra sat in the crawler, her legs covered in blankets. She could move her toes now. A small victory, but still far from walking. Jace was outside, checking wires, fixing a power unit. She stared at the sky. Her eyes locked on something strange. A tiny red light floating far away, almost like a star. But it was blinking. Too perfect. Too close. Her heart skipped. "Jace!" she shouted. "There's something watching us." Jace ran back inside and looked through his goggles. His face darkened. "Recon drone," he said. "Royal Tech. That means they're looking for you." Lyra's voice shook. "It saw me." Jace didn't waste time. He grabbed supplies and shoved them into a bag. "We can't stay here." "But I just got better," Lyra whispered. "If we stay, you won't live long enough to walk." They left the canyon behind. As the crawler roared across the sand, Lyra watched the landscape pass, endless dunes, dead trees, bones half buried under sun. The world felt bigger now, more dangerous, more real. And then the first shot hit them. A burning beam of plasma struck the crawler's rear engine. Metal screamed. Smoke filled the air. Jace cursed and spun the wheel. "Hold on!" The crawler tipped, slammed into a sandbank, and flipped onto its side. Silence. Then coughing. Jace pulled himself out through the side window. "Lyra, say something!" I'm okay," she whispered. He kicked the hatch open and dragged her out. Above them, a black drone hovered, charging its next weapon. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. She reached out, but her arms were still too weak. "I can't stop it." Jace pulled out a small EMP bomb. He aimed and threw it. The explosion sent a pulse wave that fried the drone's circuits. It fell from the sky like a dead bird. He dropped to his knees, breathing hard. "We're exposed," he muttered. That was just one. More will come. They dragged themselves into an old structure nearby, half-buried ruins of a forgotten alien temple. Vines and stone surrounded them. It was cooler inside. Still. Quiet. Lyra sat against a pillar, her hands trembling. "Why? Do they want me dead so badly?" she asked. Jace looked around, trying to seal the broken door. "You're not just a problem to them anymore." "Then what am I?" He looked at her seriously. "You're proof." She blinked. "Of what?" "That the Baron lied. That you're not useless, that something he feared is still alive." As night fell, Lyra had a dream. In it, she was walking, running, flying. But when she looked in a mirror, her eyes weren't hers. They were glowing red. She woke with a scream. Jace rushed over. "What happened?" "I saw something inside me," she whispered. "It wasn't just human or alien. It was more." Jace frowned. He pulled out his tablet, scanned her vitals again. There were hidden files, locked genetic markers, and one line of text he couldn't ignore. "Hybrid Project 12. Status terminated." He stared at Lyra. "You were an experiment." She looked away. "I always knew, I just didn't want to believe it." Suddenly they heard movement. Footsteps outside. Voices. Robotic. Jace whispered, "Searchers. Elite ones." He turned to Lyra. "Can you stand?" She tried. She pushed against the stone floor with her hands, her legs trembled, her teeth clenched, and for the first time in years, she stood, not strong, not steady, but upright. The door burst, open. A soldier stepped in, rifle ready. Lyra raised her hand and her palm glowed. A sudden burst of light shot out, blasting the soldier back. Jace stared in shock. "You just did that?" Lyra gasped. I didn't even think. It just happened. More enemies rushed in. Jace grabbed her arm. No more running. Let's make them regret ever coming. Lyra smiled. Let's. Waking the power inside, the night was burning. Energy crackled through the ancient alien temple. Lights flashed, walls shook, and the air smelled like hot metal. Lyra stood, her legs trembling, her breath short. But she stood. The soldier she blasted was still on the ground, smoke rising from his armor. The others paused at the doorway, confused. She shouldn't be walking. She shouldn't be fighting. But she was. Jace stared at her. Lyra, that blast, how did you do it? Lyra looked down at her hand, still glowing faintly. I don't know. It was like something woke up inside me. Something that's been asleep for years. Jace checked, her vitals on his scanner. Her heart rate was high, energy levels off the chart, and her eyes. They were glowing brighter now, not red like before, but white-blue like fire wrapped in ice. They didn't just turn off your legs, Jace said. They locked your power, your entire system. You weren't weak, you were sealed. Outside, the rest of the search squad circled the ruin. Target has engaged unknown tech, one robot said. Prepare for full extraction. Inside, Lyra gritted her teeth. Let them come. The floor beneath her lit up with strange ancient markings, symbols no one had seen in centuries. Her presence was waking the temple too. Jace stepped back, in awe. This place, it's reacting to you. Lyra's voice was calm, focused. I think it knows who I am. The enemy rushed in. 3 soldiers, 1 drone, 1 command bot. They didn't ask questions. They opened fire. Jace ducked, but Lyra didn't. She raised both hands and pushed forward with everything inside her. A wave of blue-white energy exploded from her chest. Not wild, not chaotic, controlled. The weapons jammed. The drone crashed. 1 soldier flew back so hard he cracked the wall. Jace crawled beside her. You're going to burn out. Lyra shook her head. I'm not done yet. The command bot approached, heavy and armored. It raised a stun rod and charged straight at her. She didn't move. Instead, her body pulsed once, and the rod melted mid-air before it touched her. Then she stepped forward. 1 step. 2. Her legs didn't shake anymore. The command bot turned to run. She raised her palm, and a sharp sound rang out, like a scream trapped in a storm. The bot froze, then shattered. Silence returned. Jace was speechless. Lyra stood in the center of glowing ruins, hair lifted by static, her skin shining like a star. Then she fell to her knees. Jace rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her voice was faint. I used too much. You did more than enough, he whispered. She smiled weakly. Now I believe it. Believe what? That I was never broken. Later that night, Jace carried her back to the crawler. Her body was weak, but healing faster than ever. He looked at her and said, They'll come again. Stronger next. Time. Lyra nodded. Then I'll be ready. Jace paused. You could disappear. Leave the planet. Hide. No one would blame you. She turned her head slowly. Her voice was cold and clear. No. He left me to die. Now I'll make him watch. Me live. Far above, Baron Vecthar watched the video feed in stunned silence. He saw the ruins glow, saw his daughter walk, saw the bot shatter. His hand shook as he crushed the wine glass in his grip. She's alive. And she's awakened, he whispered. His advisor whispered, Shall we begin the purge? The Baron turned slowly. No. We start a war. The truth about her birth. The sun rose slowly, spreading gold across the desert, but inside Jace's crawler, the air was heavy with silence. Lyra lay on a mat, her eyes open but lost in thought. Her body was healing. Her strength was returning. But her mind was spinning. "I felt something," she whispered. "When I used that power, like a voice inside me. Not words, just pain." Jace looked up from his tablet. "I think it's time we found out the truth." He connected a scanner to the back of her neck. The hidden ports in her spine glowed softly. "I've been running tests," he said. "You're not just enhanced. You're something else. Something I've never seen before." Lyra didn't speak. Her breath slowed. Jace typed a few commands. A secret file unlocked on the screen. Project code, Hybrid 12 subject name, Lyra origin, 75% royal alien, 25% human DNA. Purpose, test subject for royal fusion experiment. Status, deemed unstable, scheduled for disposal at age 16. Lyra stared at the screen. "No, it's not true." Jace didn't lie. "Your mother," he said quietly. "She wasn't fully royal. She was human." Lyra's hands shook. "He told me she died in an accident." Jace showed her another file, an old grainy photo of a woman with warm eyes and soft brown skin. Human, smiling while holding a baby with glowing eyes. "He erased her," Jace said. "From history, from records, from your life." Lyra covered her mouth. Her voice broke. "He called me impure, but it was his decision. He made me like this." Jace put a hand on her shoulder. "You're not a mistake. You're a miracle." Lyra stood up slowly. Her legs were steady now, her back straight. "He didn't just try to kill me," she said. "He tried to erase me." She looked out the window, eyes cold now. "Then I'll show him what a ghost can do." That evening, they traveled to the ruins of an old signal tower, a forgotten place once used for long-distance messages. Jace worked on repairing it while Lyra watched the stars. "I don't know who I am anymore," she said. "Not royal, not fully alien, not fully human." Jace smiled without looking up. "That's what makes you dangerous to him. You don't fit in his world." Lyra stepped closer. "Then I'll build a new one." She connected her neural link to the tower and began broadcasting. Not a distress call, not a cry for help, a message. "This is Lyra, daughter of Baron Vecthar. They left me in the desert to die, but I'm still here, and I remember everything. If you are like me, discarded, rejected, hidden, then know this: you are not alone anymore." Far across the stars, on backwater planets and deep in slave camps, others heard her voice. Children with strange powers, women with scars and glowing veins, men born with secrets in their blood. They paused, they listened, and they answered. In his worship, Baron Vecthar heard the transmission. His advisors panicked. "She's awakening the others." The Baron's eyes burned with rage. "She dares to call them to her, these broken ones." "She's becoming a symbol, my lord," said another. The Baron stood. "No, she's becoming a threat." He pressed a red button. "Send the hunters, all of them." Meanwhile, Lyra looked at Jace. "There will be a war now." He nodded. "Then let's give them a reason to regret starting it." She smiled. For the first time, her smile wasn't broken or sad. It was strong. Daughter versus Empire. The message had already traveled, not just across planets, but deep into the hearts of the forgotten. People with marks on their skin, people with glowing blood, people who were told they were errors or accidents. Now they knew. They were not alone anymore. And the one who gave them that hope was Lyra. Jace stood beside her on the cliff's edge, looking down at the desert city of Varicose, the heart of Baron Vecthar's empire. The towers were dark metal, sharp and cold. Drones circled the skies. Fear lived in every shadow. "Are you ready for this?" Jace asked. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "No." Jace raised a brow. "No? I'm not ready," she said. "But I'm going anyway." They moved fast through the night with the help of old tunnels Jace once used as a smuggler. Each step closer brought back memories. Lyra remembered walking these same streets as a child, hidden in robes, watched by guards, judged in silence. Now she returned, not as the Baron's shadow, but as his echo turned into storm. Inside the palace, the Baron sat on his iron throne, surrounded by generals and advisors. The walls buzzed with fear. "She calls herself your daughter," one officer said. "She dares use that name," another added. The Baron stood, his voice like stone cracking. "She was never my daughter. She was a tool. And now, she's a weapon." At dawn, Lyra stood in front of the city gates alone. Guards laughed. One girl, she raised her hand, and the gate behind them opened, not broken, not forced, opened. From within the city, people emerged, quietly at first, then in growing numbers. Children, with metal limbs, teens with strange eyes, women with fire in their hands, men who glowed under the morning sun. They didn't carry weapons, they carried memories. The Baron's voice echoed through the city, projected from a loudspeaker. "Go home, Lyra. Before I erase you for good," she answered calmly. "You tried that already." Then the skies darkened. Baron's private army descended from above, flying machines, armored beasts, war drones, ready to crush the movement. Jace turned to Lyra. "They'll slaughter us." Lyra didn't flinch. "No, not this time." She stepped forward, lifted both hands, and light exploded from her palms. Not fire, not destruction, but a signal, a frequency only the Baron's machines could hear, and they began to shut down, one by one, falling from the sky, powerless. From the palace, the Baron screamed, "Override her! Cut the signal!" But his tech chief stuttered, "We can't. She's not just hacking the system, she is the system." Lyra stood in the center of the street. "Calm, firm, everything you built on pain," she said aloud. "Now it falls." But the Baron wasn't finished. He activated a hidden override code, something buried deep in Lyra's spine from when she was a child. A final weapon. A last trap. Suddenly, Lyra froze. Her vision blurred. Pain spread through her back like fire. Jace ran to her. "Lyra, what's happening?" She whispered. "He's trying to erase me." Again. Inside her mind, she saw black walls, chains, a voice repeating, "You are not real. You are not worthy. You are not alive." And then she saw her mother, smiling, holding her hand, saying one word, "Choose." Outside, Lyra's body trembled. Then she opened her eyes. The glow had changed. It was now golden, alive, free. She reached into her own system and broke the code herself. The override shattered. She stood tall again. "I choose myself," she said, and the city cheered. Even those who once feared her now stood behind her. In the palace, the Baron saw it all. He dropped to his knees. "My empire," he whispered. Jace stood behind Lyra. "It's not yours anymore." The rise of the forgotten. The city was silent, not out of fear, but shock. The mighty war machines had fallen. The sky was calm again, and in the heart of Varicose, where once people bowed to a tyrant, now they looked up. To her, to Lyra. She didn't wear a crown. She didn't sit on a throne. She stood, shoulders square, eyes bright, her long silver coat moving with the warm desert wind. And behind her stood all those who were once called mistakes, mutants, rejects. No one was hiding anymore. Jace walked beside her, dusty and tired but smiling. "You did it," he said softly. "No," Lyra said, watching the rising sun. "We did it." The palace was empty now. Baron Vecthar had fled. No army, no guards, just a ship vanishing into the stars, running from the daughter he once threw away. Jace asked, "Do you want to hunt him?" Lyra shook her head. "No. Let the galaxy see what happens to men like him. Let him live with what he's lost." She paused. He wanted power. I want peace. In the weeks that followed, the world changed. The outer colonies, once ruled by fear, began to open their gates. Those marked as failed hybrids were welcomed. Old underground labs were shut down. Children once hidden in basements were brought into sunlight. Lyra created a haven in the same canyon where Jace first carried her. It was no longer a place of hiding. It became a place of healing. She worked every day, not as a queen, but as a builder. She taught young hybrids how to use their abilities, not for war but for balance. One evening, as orange light bathed the desert cliffs, Jace found Lyra sitting alone, watching the sky. He sat beside her. She asked, "Do you think the galaxy will ever fully accept people like me?" He replied, "The galaxy changes slow, but people, they change faster when someone shows them how." She looked at him. "I never asked. Why did you really save me that day?" Jace smiled. "Because something in your eyes said you weren't done yet. Far away in the shadows of forgotten stars, others still suffered. But now they had a name to whisper, a symbol to follow. Lyra, not just the daughter of a baron, but the voice of the unwanted, the spark of the rejected, the leader of the forgotten, and so the legend began, not of a hero with perfect power, but of a broken girl who stood up anyway.